Sorry, I just realized it. Yeah, offers. Well, other thoughts before we watch the video?
Well, when you mentioned wholeness, it reminds me of, I think it's in Corinthians about that the body is made up of many different parts. And so you have hands and feet, and when things are going well, everything is working together as opposed to being at odds.
Yeah.
And for
The body
me,
of Christ.
that when things are peaceful, it's when things seem to just be flowing and not being in competition and feeling like you have to be one up.
Yeah, good point. Okay, let's watch the video. Let's see if I can make this happen tonight.
And the adventure begins.
Oh, no, I have to stop sharing because I forgot to share video. Let's try one more time. There we go. Okay.
This is week 4 of our Everyday Advent series, and
Can you
this
see it?
week is all about peace. If you're lighting candles in this season, the candle for this week is known as the angel's candle, and it's a reference to Luke 2 when the angel of the Lord appeared to the shepherds and was joined by a host of vast others, it says, the armies of heaven praising God and saying glory to God in the highest and peace on earth to those with whom God is pleased. So what exactly does it mean that we have peace on earth? I believe that Jesus is the Prince of Peace. He carries the gospel of peace. His kingdom is a kingdom of peace, and he has pursued peace with us so that we can have peace here on earth. There's kind of 2 ways that this plays out. It plays out first and foremost in our relationship with God. Because of what Jesus did, our relationship with God was reconciled. We have peace with him. When Adam and Eve sinned in the Garden of Eden and sin entered our world, their relationship with God was broken. There was this separation. The Bible even calls us enemies of God. But what Jesus did was he came to make peace between us and God. Colossians 1:20 says this, through him, God reconciled everything to himself. He made peace with everything in heaven and earth by means of Christ's blood on the cross. And I want to make a note here that peace is not just quiet or rest. I think sometimes we think of peace as the opposite of chaos or the opposite of war, and we think of it as this time of just like stillness. But the word peace in the Bible actually means wholeness. And in the dictionary, it would say that all essential parts are joined together. And I love this because it's a beautiful picture of actually the people of God, the church of God. That if we were able to live by peace, this kingdom of peace, if we were able to live in that and really grasp it and understand it, that we would be able to have peace with the people around us so that we could actually work in harmony together with other people with one focus to build the kingdom of God. Jesus actually prayed for this, that we would have unity. And I feel like because he made this peace for us, because he sought us out, because he pursued us with his peace, then we have the opportunity to extend that to the people around us and be the kind of people who would be peacemakers and peacekeepers. That we would be the kind of people who would make it actually easy for others to make peace with us. That we would always be operating in a spirit of humility and gentleness when it comes to other people and actually be seeking out ways to make peace. Now, I know when people have hurt us or offended us, especially in the church, it's really hard for us, right? We don't really want necessarily to make peace with people when they've wounded us, when they've hurt us. But God has called us to be the kind of people who would pursue, who would seek out and pursue peace with everybody so that we can work together to accomplish what he is asking us to do, and that is advance his kingdom here on the earth. So do we make it easy for people to make peace with us? That's my question for today. Do you make it easy for people to make peace with you? Do you pursue that? Romans 12:18 says this, if it is possible, as far as depends on you, live at peace with everyone. And I love that it tells us this, as far as depends on you, if it's possible. Sometimes it's not possible. Sometimes we do everything in our power to seek peace with somebody and they just don't want to make peace with us. And you need to know that if you have done everything you can to make peace with someone and they're not willing to receive that or walk in it, then you can release it. It's not on you. You don't have to carry that burden. It's up to us to do everything we can do, but then that's all we really can do. And so if someone else wants to stay angry, I have just a couple of points I want to leave you with today that I try to put into practice in my life. And the first one is to always keep the door open. And really that's like the door of my heart, to be honest. And yes, it's possible that person could hurt me again. Yes, it's possible I'm putting myself in a place where I could be wounded again. But I feel like I've got God on my side. I don't have to worry about that all that much. I can open my heart and put myself in a place where it's easy for people to make peace with me so that when they're ready, they can come and do that and have a conversation that leads to reconciliation. I'm going to always pray for that person. I think it's important to pray for people who have hurt us for two reasons. First, it releases us. It really doesn't have a lot to do with them. They may not know that I'm at home praying for them, but when I pray for them, it actually breaks down the walls of my heart and it releases me so that I'm not holding on to any bitterness or hurt or anger towards anybody. It keeps my heart soft towards them. And the final thing that I just wanted to say is that we also have the opportunity to bless people. And we don't talk about this a lot in the church, but the idea of blessing is actually all throughout the Bible. And there's power in speaking out a blessing over someone else's life. It's one thing to pray for somebody, but to actually speak a blessing over them. God, I want you to bless them. I want to see great things happen in their life. That actually changes our perspective in how we view people, that we could actually have a God kind of perspective for them, that we could actually view them and see them through God's eyes. And so living in peace doesn't always come easy for us, but because of what Jesus has done, we can do it. Because of what we have received from him, we can freely give. He gives us love, we can freely give love. He gives us grace, we can freely give grace. He's made peace with us so that we can pursue peace with others. I feel like this is something that sets us apart as Christians. It sets us apart as people of God, that we would actually be the ones who seek peace.
There we are. So I'm going to kind of hit some, just mention some of the key themes that I heard, and then see what commentary you guys have. But you know, she actually said we said Jesus offers peace, Jesus invites peace. She said it was much more active. He pursues peace with us. He pursues us, which was pretty beautiful. And he prayed for peace. And then she talked about being peacemakers, and she talked about making peace with others and forgiveness, which can be very hard, and ways we can do that by leaving the door open, praying and blessing others. Anything jump out at anybody as something that just stuck with you?
Me, it's the realization of my definition. What I had to have been referring to based on what she said, an inner calm, that's got to be an inner peace. What she's describing is truly an external thing. It's us developing a union, a working relationship, a peace, if you will, with other people.
Yeah, you're right.
I guess one of the things that I keep thinking about with this is, does forgiveness have to be part of this? And what I mean by that is, do other people have to recognize that they've hurt you? Or does that all see, I think this is really important, because I personally think you can work with, if what we're going to say is peace in this context is having a working relationship with other people where there has been conflict in some way, is this idea of the other person recognizes, accepts how they hurt or offended you, and the same on the other side. I would say no. I personally would say there are some people in my life that it is impossible to truly reconcile with. We are just that just will not occur. Now, can we be productive together? Can we be together and work together? Yes. But there can be no expectation that the other person will take my perspective. Just, it will not happen. So I just wanted to say that. I think that's an important idea, particularly now in what I consider to be the age of outrage. That people are, they just want to be offended. They're very quick to be offended, and other people must appreciate their perspective in order to move on. I just don't think it works that way, at least not in my life.
So this is going to be charged for a lot of us, I know, but so here's the question that Amy Louise kind of posed. It's hidden in there. Does somebody have to acknowledge or know that they hurt you in order for you to forgive them?
Well, let me offer a different kind of example just to broaden the issue a little. Not so much that they've hurt you, but I had an incident about 20 years ago now that I still remember vividly, where a nephew had recently married, and the families got together, and I met the bride's parents, and they were from the deep South, and they still had a set of values that to me seemed very old-fashioned, to put it in those terms. And as we were chatting, at one point, they said something that to me was offensively, explicitly, unmistakably racist. Just no ifs, ands, or buts about it. You can imagine the vocabulary with no difficulty. And I was taken aback. I mean, I didn't know what to say or do. It wasn't so much that I was stunned more than anything else. But I realized that this was, I wasn't there to start something. I kept the peace by keeping quiet and simply, frankly, just moving away as quickly as I could, never speaking to them ever again. But that still bothers me at one level. I mean, I guess we could say I did the right thing to hold my peace, if we want to put it in those terms. But it still disturbs me that I would let somebody say something like that in my presence, and I wouldn't speak up.
Well, but Paul, what would have been accomplished in that context if you had? I mean, why were you there? You were there to celebrate the wedding, right, of a nephew.
Yeah,
So yeah, so it's just, I mean, but I think what you bring up is a critical point, is that, I mean, I think that if we're gonna wait around for everyone to appreciate our perspective and then to come to some agreement on what was, like rehash things till everyone agrees on a perspective, we're never going to accomplish anything. We just aren't. I think that I don't really think of it, Maria, as forgiveness, because forgiveness is something pretty strong. And can I forgive people without them kind of without having some face-to-face thing? Well, sure, but I don't tie peace, being able to work peaceably with others, necessarily with forgiveness. Now, if I'm going to trust them, that's a whole other matter.
Yeah. This is a so I'm going to move away from it. It's a personal hot button for me because I'm struggling with forgiveness in a particular work relationship that caused me to leave Dell, and every week when we say the Our Father, it's like we're called to forgive. So that was just the only thing, but we'll get away from that.
Yeah, but it might be too soon to forgive.
I know it's been 3 years. I just want to let it go.
It might take a little longer.
I know. So, I want to like just kind of, we can switch gears a minute because I think what she's encouraging us, and I want to encourage everybody to pray about it, like as you go into being with family, in the next week, where is God calling you to be a peacemaker? We might not all have it, but I think we all have we can have situations where we're not necessarily getting along with that person, or there's just the potential. So where is God calling us to be peacemakers? But I just want to set that aside for a minute because we're just a couple of days from Christmas, and I'm just going to ask each of you to just take a minute and just reflect upon a favorite Christmas memory. And maybe peace was involved, and maybe joy was involved, or faith was involved, but just take a minute and share, because I think that's a good way to end our last meeting before Christmas. So I'll let you think for a minute, and if someone wants to jump in, then I'll start calling on people from there. Amy,
I've got one. I've got one. So
yep.
Now, Eric, I don't want you to feel bad when I say this.
What?
I love this.
But
Okay, I don't want you to feel bad when I say this. So there are times we did not go this year. That's what I do not want him to feel bad about.
Oh, yeah.
But we often will go to Galveston when the semester ends and before Christmas. And, that's a great time to go to the beach because there aren't that many people there. And one of the things I just love to do is, one, it's just us. We're not, there's no work, anything. It's just us. And we take these walks on the beach when it's cold. And like the last time we went, the fog was rolling in. I mean, you could not see more than maybe 10 feet in front of you, but you could hear the waves. And once in a while we'd come across a snowman made of sand that someone tried to make. They're really little, and they got the shells on them. But I just really, treasure those times particularly. And I guess when you talked about thin spaces, when I'm walking on the beach in the winter time and it's deserted, and I'm walking, with Eric, and it's just silent except for the waves that you really can't even see. It's just a real special time.
That is so beautiful. That's definitely a thin space. Thank you. All right, I'm gonna go around my tiles then. Kim and Dave, you're up first.
Thing that I
And the top
remember
left.
about thing that I remember about Christmases from years ago. At the time we were living up in Dallas, so we would come down to visit and stay with Kim's parents. And a little sidebar, I was always laughing or amused at my father-in-law, who would be very anxious and nervous until all the chicks had arrived at the house. Everyone had gotten in, and then he'd visibly calm down. And I used to laugh about that until I find myself doing the same thing as I've got children that are out and about and they're all arriving, and I'm doing the same thing. But I used to always love Christmas Eve. Children go to bed, and then at the time the son was into GI Joe, and one of the things that I always got to do was to sit down and assemble the GI Joe vehicles. They come with lots of pieces that have to be put together. I was always, as an engineer, I was impressed with the snap fits and the injection molding details and all that kind of stuff. And I just have always enjoyed that kind of thing. And then, contrary to what you say about engineers, the families learned it's something for Christmas has to have an instruction manual, because I actually will read the instruction manual, looking at the specs, the requirements, the expectations, and all of that kind of stuff.
Oh, that's so awesome. How about you? Yeah, I do have to tell you, I have appreciation for engineers because my late husband was a marketing, very creative guy, and now I'm married to an engineer. The way you guys think is very cool to me. Anyway, go ahead, Kim.
Well, mine is kind of a Christmas thing and kind of not. David and I were married on December 30th after Christmas. And one of the reasons I wanted to be married at that time of the year was because the church was always so beautiful and so magical. And there was just something peaceful and special about that time. And so probably, I guess that Christmas would be a favorite Christmas memory for me. And then my daughter, 7 years ago, wanted to be married on our anniversary. So those are two very special Christmas memories that I have, is my wedding and my daughter's.
That's beautiful. That's awesome. All right, Kay, you're up.
When I think about Christmas, the first thing I think about is my mother loved Christmas. She just loved Christmas, and she loved giving, and she loved wrapping presents, and you never knew. It could be a box of Kleenex or it could be a golden tiara, in terms of, you just never knew, but it was wrapped up. And then thinking about wrapping, I was just telling our son, I was joking with him. I said, well, he just turned 50 on the 18th, so just a couple of days ago. And I said, so I thought about actually what I'm going to send you as a really, 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 really big stocking, because he came home in his bunting wrapped. It was in the ladies' auxiliary had made Christmas stockings that were big enough so that you could put a baby in a bunting inside the stocking. And we still have that stocking. And so that's a wonderful memory. And then just one other one that's very recent. Our grandchildren here helped us put our tree up. And it's not a great tree in terms of its aesthetics, but it has a lot of ornaments, some of that they had made, some just, the kind of construction paper type stuff.
Mhm.
and then others where, you know, a friend had knit some and just, so that just brought back all kinds of memories. And then when it was all done, our younger grandson said, okay, what we're gonna have to do is close all the blinds, because he wanted to be able to see the lights on the tree. And there
Oh,
was something just really special about having this little 5-year-old going around closing all the blinds so that the lights would twinkle. Oh,
that is cute. That's awesome.
so it's been
Yeah.
a special time for,
Awesome.
in many ways.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay, Eric, you're up.
Sorry, technical challenges. No, good luck that Kay was the last speaker, because I'm indebted to both of the Solons. Paul at first for bringing up the notion of keeping one's peace, which I think some of you probably picked up on. You know, we say that during marriages: speak now or forever keep your peace. And Kay about bringing up the love of Christmas by people who are not necessarily in our tribe. I'm thinking about like Ayn Rand, who was a really aggressive atheist, but she loved Christmas. And to be even yet more disjointed, I can't think of anything, or my personal experience with Christmas that was so joyful. I can't bring it back to anything learned at church, anything learned in the Bible. It was the year that the dachshund chased after a garden lizard and pulled down the Christmas tree. And the chaos of that day was sort of the most joyful, interesting Christmas.
That's awesome.
It's very on Christmas vacation.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, Lori, you got your camera on, so I'm gonna let you guys go next.
Okay. Well, this is a family kind of thing. It's not just me personally. We had been married several years, and we were having Christmas at Mike's parents because my parents had died shortly after we got married. And Mike's sister announced, as we were sitting around unwrapping Christmas presents, that she was expecting. And this was the first baby, the first grandchild for my in-laws. And of course they were thrilled and we were thrilled. And more to my personal viewpoint, it was like, phew, pressure's off me. She's having the first baby, because I was still trying to build a career, and we weren't ready to have children. I thought, good for her. So she announced it at Christmas. The baby was born in August, and now he's a 45-year-old father of a 6-year-old, and it's all good. And so I thought it was just a wonderful thing that she announced it at Christmas, because
Yeah,
it brought such joy to the family.
so much.
Yeah.
Is Mike with you?
Yeah, but he says hi. He doesn't have any particular. Well, there's one funny story, and maybe Mike won't mind if I relate this. I went to church with the Mahaffey's one Christmas Eve, and Mike's mother had been at church. No, she'd been at work late, and she came into the church, and she was real upset. And Mike's father was like, "What's wrong?" And she said, "You won't believe this. Somebody stole baby Jesus out of the manger scene in front of the house." And he poked her and he said, "No, baby Jesus is up there in the front of the church. They needed a baby Jesus. And so I brought ours home." So it was humorous. But at the time, she was so frustrated because she thought some thief had stolen the baby Jesus out of the
Somebody
personal
stole baby
manger scene.
Jesus.
Anyway, so from the sublime to the silly.
That's awesome.
And now I'll close off.
Hey, Nancy, can you come back on, or you just want to let us hear you? There you go.
Yeah. No, I'm here. So many things about Christmas. Pretty emotional this year. I remember a few years ago, I was up late preparing the stockings and the Santa situation for our daughters, and realizing what a legacy there was of all of the other parents who had gone before me, generation upon generation upon generation, trying to do something really special for their children on Christmas morning. I was thinking about, this, it's sort of what people may think now, a silly tradition of including a piece of, like an orange and some nuts in the bottom of the stocking. And I don't think my kids even know why that's a thing, but those things used to be precious and special because they were so hard to acquire. And just feeling like I was part of a bigger process and something that had been going on for a long time, in expressing love to our children in the spirit of welcoming Jesus to our homes.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's awesome. Look, we have a guest. Everybody say hi.
Hello.
Oh, I look terrible, but hello. How are y'all? Hi, everybody. I was coming in late. I was hoping maybe I wouldn't interrupt your deep conversation. So
No, we were done with deep conversations. We had some discussion about peace, and then I thought it would just be a nice light way to end, to have everybody share their favorite Christmas memory.
oh wow, that's awesome. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, hi, I don't know if I've met everybody, but I'm Kathy Pfister, and I just wanted to pop on and say hello.
Hello.
How are you guys? Are you ready for Christmas? No,
No.
no.
It's coming.
Ready or not, here it comes.
Yeah, that's exactly the deal, isn't it? Yep. Well, it's good to see everybody. And Maria, you said you asked people to share a Christmas memory or a Christmas
Yeah,
song, or
Just a favorite Christmas
Memory.
memory. The
Yeah.
range is really fun to hear. You want to share one?
oh, well, I when I was a teenager, my stepmother would always go to the department store and buy me like one of those gift with purchase makeup things, that always come out at the holidays. And I don't know why, but it was just like the most, I loved it. And there was like 5 years in a row, maybe longer, that I always got, it was Estee Lauder or Clinique or
Yeah.
whatever. And it didn't matter. I just loved, getting the little makeup set. But I also remember becoming an adult and not getting those anymore. How do I replenish my whole makeup supply now? Certainly not going to buy myself the gift with purchase, so anyway, it's just kind of funny.
You know what you do? So, because I actually did this year, there was a gift with purchase for Lancome. I handed it to my daughters and I said, "Here's a Christmas gift idea." So
There you go.
I think I'll get it. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, wrap it for me.
Yeah. So we had two more people that wanted to share, that hadn't shared. Do you guys want to share? Kim and Paul?
Sure.
Kim, go ahead.
Yeah. Okay, we were talking about Christmas memories. I can't really think of, like, right now. I'm tired, just a long day at work, but what I'm thinking about is Christmas morning, and we're talking about peace and how peaceful Christmas morning is when I'm preparing everything. Like, it's just quiet in the house. I've got the fireplace going. I've got the gifts ready for my girls, and we're sipping on our coffee, and it's just like I said, fireplace is going, and we have that really that one-on-one time with just us before my parents come over and everything gets chaotic and crazy. and so that's what I just look forward to every year. And then we all, my parents come over and everything gets chaotic and crazy, and then we all go to service together. So,
Oh, awesome. So you go to 10:15?
it just kind of depends on
Okay.
the day. I think this year we're going to go at 4. So,
Oh, on Christmas Eve. Okay, cool.
yeah.
All right, Paul, you're up.
Well, I guess mine is not so much something that happened as it just is a description of a moment that in some way maybe relates to peace. Just a childhood memory of the family being together. We would always gather at my grandparents' small apartment in Auburn, New York, where it was always, cold and the snow was deep, and you came in out of the cold, and everybody was there. Perhaps the only time of year that everybody was really together. But this would be when I was, I don't know, 8 or 9 years old. And before dinner, they would all crowd into the living room. And, I had Uncle Joe and Aunt Louise and Uncle Mike and Aunt Sophie and my mom and my dad and grandma and grandpa and me and my cousins, of which there were quite a few. And us kids would sit on the floor. That's why I must have been still small enough that was the appropriate place for me to be sitting. And I just remember looking around the room as a child, and they were all drinking like fish. It's a Polish family. They were all drinking highballs and smoking. I still remember which brand, my Aunt Louise always smoked Pall Malls, and Grandpa smoked Chesterfields, and Uncle Mike smoked Lucky Strikes, and my dad smoked Old Goats. And it was just, all of that, this kind of smoke-filled, alcohol-laden space. And I was just so happy and so at peace, warm, and safe, and comfortable, and looking forward to something wonderful, and being a part of something wonderful. And if that isn't peace, I don't know what is. So that's my goal.
Beautiful.
When everything is right in the world.
Yep.
It's never quite been the same.
That's awesome.
I want to echo on what Nancy said about my stocking always had an orange and nuts in it. And I was grown when I found out that my mother said when she was growing up, it was a big deal to have citrus. And you wouldn't think so. My mother lived in Georgia, but the citrus was in Florida and California, and to have citrus and then the nuts, I think, it's just, and so I would always put nuts and citrus in our kids' stocking.
Thank you. I'm not crazy.
Looking for something else.
I
and
remember
always
that
try to
too.
put
I remember
something
that
else
too.
in there. We'd always get some of those candy canes that had, M&Ms in it or something to kind of be at peace for them.
Yeah.
But it is.
I should add one thing to
I
Kate.
just could hear, the echo of going back.
Yes. The echo.
I just wanted to
Exactly.
add one thing to Kay's story about bringing our son home, since it was 50 years ago yesterday. The day we brought Jan home, it was 30 below zero. And so we really had him wrapped up, and I mean, that's cold even for Minnesota. It does happen, but that's about as cold as it gets.
Yeah.
It's just a bright, sunny day, brilliant, but 30 below zero. And I remember after we brought Jan inside, my mother-in-law said, "Now you have to go back outside, Paul, because I'm going to put my coat on." And she said, I want to go outside with my coat on, and I want you to take a picture of me so I could show my friends that I was once in 30 below zero weather." We still have a photograph, of course.
That's awesome.
Wow.
That's awesome. Well, thank you all for sharing. Just a quick update. In January, we'll start again the week of January 7th, and I think we're going to be doing a study on virtues, which will be kind of fun. Paul's working on that. And then during Lent, Amy Louise and Chris Rhodes and Paul are working on a study on prayer and different kinds of prayer. And you probably all got the survey on that.
And on that note, there's just a handful of you guys who haven't completed it. So I'm going to send it out one more time, and majority rules. So you really do want to respond to this, because if you don't, I'm just going to go run amok.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
Poetry is Prayer has not been a winner thus far, but it could all change based on these next few people.
So anyway, we look forward to seeing you guys in January. So let me ask for prayer requests, in particular around like where you might want there to be peace during this holiday season.
We are apart from our my in-laws, who they're in Houston. And they just moved from their home to kind of an independent living apartment, which has been a really big adjustment. And even though there were lots of things about living in Houston that we didn't really love, the one thing that we did love about living in Houston was being close to them. And so I'll drive to Houston after Christmas, but it's just, I hope that they're at peace and that they feel the love, even though we're not there. And yeah, prayers for them.
In-laws?
Yeah, they're named Jerry and Ted.
Jerry and Ted.
Jerry and Ted.
And I was just gonna say, and I have a list of particular people, but because it's a very soft spot for me, is anybody who's missing a loved one, that this is their first holiday, like Scott Beachy.
Mhm.
You know, let's hold them in prayer, because those firsts can be really hard.
You know, I would also say Janet Wood too. Even though it's been a couple years since her husband passed, I think that this time of year is particularly hard.
Mhm.
It's important to her to hear her husband's name, Tom.
Yes, Tom.
And I guess even though it's, I don't mean this to change things to a different level, but I have a number of Jewish friends, and they're going through a lot right now. I don't want to get into the politics of the war or anything